All right, so I want you all to imagine you're sitting off in a radio studio somewhere and you're doing your show, and it's a show called Redneck Radio, which you're already kind of, if you're in a show called Redneck Radio. You're talking to a guy from Sweden, and he's just called Hicks. And you ask him a question, what's the difference between Americans and Europeans in a concert? He goes silent for a few seconds, and he says, the difference between Americans and Europeans in a concert is that Americans are drunk, but Europeans, they get shit-faced. Now, my friend Matt Burrell, if there is truly, he sits there for a minute. And doing radio, you're really not allowed to say expletives. So he could hit the 7-minute skip button and, berate this man for cursing on air, or he can keep going. He keeps going. That's integrity. That's great stuff. My friend Matt, well, he's upstanding in my opinion. We met in orientation. He's pretty cool. It's a great guy. He does radio, he does sports. It's great. Now, there's a few things that you can find someone by, and I'm going to go with him with the coolness factor. Now, cool can be the stuff you wear, the stuff you say, the stuff you do. No. Coolness is personality. It's character. It's who you are on the inside. Not what you wear, nothing flashy. He's got a great character. Amazing. Now, first, I'm going to tell you, as I said before, about this Redneck Radio and his involvement in it. Then I'm going to tell you about his life outside Rider University, his family, his hobbies, his hats. And then I might just go into some brief detail about the sports and what he did in high school. Now, as I'm sure you've heard me say, he works for Redneck Radio on campus. Now, that's his radio show that he works on at 107.7 The Bronx. They air at 12 to 2 p.m., and they are a straight-up country radio news show. Now, I pulled their description from their Facebook page, and it says as thus: Redneck Radio is the official country music show of Rider University in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. Redneck Radio is hosted by Sam Cowboy Morrison, Matt Redneck Burrell, and Mick the Hick Pagano. They're all students here, and they air 12 to 2 p.m. Now, how is he involved in this, you might ask? He's the PR spokesperson. He does the interviews, he does all the PR stuff, he sets up other fun things. And he told me about this cool thing called the Australia Special. Now, the Australia Special is where they air in Australia from the hours of 4 to 6. And I think it's once a year, something like that, something along those lines. And they have this Australian music agent who will send them artists to talk to and to play music from. And one of them is Christy Lamb, who he described as a mix between Taylor Swift and I forget the other people, but it was a weird conglomeration of Taylor Swift and like Billy Joel, and I was really excited, and I actually looked up, he's got some pretty cool stuff. Now, outside of his radio DJ jockeying and being a cool country fanatic, he's got a really nice family life. He lives up in upstate New York in a little place called, I'll get back to that. He lives up in upstate New York. He resides in Rockland County, there we are, which is in upstate New York. And he's got his brother and his sister, they're both twins, fraternal, just graduated high school. I heard from them, they're pretty cool people. And he's got grandparents who he describes as typical white people, who they're happily married 50 years, conservative, I don't know, they seem like cool people. I'd go to dinner with them. And he hunts, and this also on the occasion, small game hunting for what I would imagine, but it's not one of the big things he does. And he's hold this fun thing, which I really love about him, is as a hat person myself, he has his favorite hat. And he denotates his favorite hat as a little American flag pin, which is cool. I need to start doing something like that. He's also looking for an internship with Radio and Media Services because, as we all know, and as I've said, radio is one of his favorite things to do. Right. Another thing, we're going to switch topics now, is on campus, he's a big sports guy. He did sports in high school, he used to play football, but due to sports-related injuries, he really can't do it in high school, college now. But what he does do is he works for the athletics department on campus. And he is on the information portion. And what he does basically is he sits ringside for the female basketball games, and he takes notes, and he records the stats, and he sorts the photos, and he does all that cool management work, and he does the upkeep, and he sends these stats to people, and he looks over them, and they're all important for the school, which is pretty awesome, because he's kind of maybe one of those people going to get scouted one day, and you can say, hey, I knew that girl. She got scouted. She's on a professional basketball team. It's pretty cool in my opinion. you're being important. You're assisting in someone else's life. And ambitions. Ambitions, as I said before, he said he's looking for an internship for a radio in New Jersey. Now, his biggest ambition is when he graduates college, he wants to work media, he wants to work radio, he wants to do something where he can be on the airwaves, he wants his voice to be heard, he wants to do all that fun stuff where he can interview people on air, and he wants to talk to people, and, he wants to do radio music entertainment. That's really cool, don't you think about that? I mean, you want to be out there in front of the world. That takes integrity, that takes a lot of cool things. So we're gonna, I'm gonna wrap things up here. My friend Matt is really an upstanding individual. He's fun, he hunts. He does the radio shows, he does Redneck Radio, which is basically his brainchild here at Radar Campus. And he has his fun with that. He has rather normal, if somewhat odd and hilarious family with typical white grandparents. And his fun sister and brother. He loves sports. Sports are one of his biggest passions beside country music. And that's another really great thing. Football primarily, he play. And, how do I know this? I know this because I've talked to him. And I would suggest you talk to him too. If you want someone fun to talk to, it's a really good conversation to have. That's all I've got to say about that.